So I got a great question. Why are you using classes all over your code? Why not interfaces? Well, to be honest, the class I use because my students just get it. I think it's easier for them to understand classes than interfaces right now. That's actually the main reason. Now, in the case of TypeScript, you should actually use interfaces if you don't have any logic or any methods or anything like that in your classes. So the truth is, I should switch to interfaces. And we'll do that this lesson, and I'll also kind of just discuss and explain to you guys why interfaces are awesome inside TypeScript compared to classes when you don't need any logic or any methods inside the actual interface. Let me try and show what I'm talking about right here. If we jump into the actual on the web right here, I found a good article right here. You can go and grab that article if you want to. I'll try to put it in the comments so you can see the link right here. But he kind of explains the difference between classes and interface, and I think he has some very important points in here. And the most important one is, if I scroll down here, that an interface is only used by TypeScript at the compile time and is removed afterwards, right? So that pretty much means that, notice the code right here, he's creating an interface and he's creating some kind of fetch method that can go and grab some information from some kind of block, right? Now, notice when this is compiled by the TypeScript engine into JavaScript, the interface is actually gone right here. It's not there anymore. And it still understands this as a function and it has a status because the JavaScript code doesn't need the interface. It's needed for our TypeScript code to kind of figure this out and make some help for us writing correct code. But when we get to this point, the TypeScript doesn't care about the interface. So that's very powerful. Notice all of this code is now gone, and that could be a lot more like in our case. It's all of this would actually be removed as soon as I'm compiling the code into JavaScript. Now, what would happen if it was a class, like I already had before? Scrolling down right here, notice the class will be written like this again. We'll have the interface, pretty much like what we're doing. But notice this is actually how it would look, right? So it would look something like this. So that would kind of be a lot of noise inside the actual JavaScript code that wouldn't be needed, and what that would mean more download time for the user in the actual end of the setup right here. So of course we should use interfaces, but in my program it doesn't matter. Seriously, I have like 4 classes in my case. It doesn't matter if using classes interface in my case, but a good rule of thumb I think is to start out with an interface and then figure out later if you need a class, right? If you need more functionality. Because let's just try for the fun of it to change all of our classes here into interfaces. I'll just do it right now. There we have an interface. Yeah, let's just go into, we also have the file and folder, that's also classes. I think that's the 4 classes I have right now, so it's not a lot of change it'll do for me, but still it'll put less code that we have to download. But notice right here, if I needed to kind of make a constructor in here, that wouldn't be possible. If I wanted to use this as a new keyword somewhere, maybe in here I wanted to make a new file task for some reason, like saying file const file task equals new file task. That's not possible because the file task is now an interface and it cannot be instantiated like this. Now that doesn't matter because we're just using the curly bracket setup anyway, so you can still instantiate it like this to kind of have a file task. So it's not a problem for us, right? But what if I need a method in here? So you could not say hi like this. That's not something you can do inside an interface. So you would have to then create a class instead. But at least you wouldn't have to do it until you actually figured out you needed a class, right? So if you want to dive more into this, try and read the second article that I present right here, where he kind of creates an interface with his TypeScript with classes, examples of using a constructor. Go and read it if you want to. I don't want to spend time there. There's a lot of other great examples out there on when to use interfaces and when to use classes. But I think, again, the good rule of thumb is use the interface unless you need a class, right? So for models specifically like mine, just add interface instead of classes and you'll save those lines of code right here that we're seeing in this example right here. So that's it for this lesson. See you next time. We'll have even more fun.